What's up, sports fans? This is the Lucas Ross Sports Channel, and it's time to give you my official prediction for the 2023 Pac-12 Conference Championship matchup, Conference Championship game matchup between the Oregon Ducks and the Washington Huskies. We're going to give you a game preview / game prediction for this Pac-12 Championship game between Oregon and Washington. If you have not seen my other Power 5 Conference Championship videos, I've already done them. I've done the ACC on Monday, then of course I did the Big 10 and the Big 12 yesterday, so you can go back and watch those videos if you have not seen it yet. Now we're going to be doing the Pac-12 today, and then tomorrow I'll give you my SEC championship prediction as well, so we'll wrap up these Power 5 Conference Championship games. So we're going to get to my Pac-12 championship prediction here. Big-time Pac-12 game. This will probably be the last Pac-12 championship game of the entire, history of college football in the Pac-12 conference. So let's get right into my game preview / game prediction here for the Oregon and Washington Pac-12 championship game. We'll start here with the stats for both of these teams. And starting with the Oregon Ducks, they're coming into this Pac-12 championship with a record of 11-1, so they just have one loss on the season, and that, of course, is the team that, who they're playing against this weekend, and that is Washington. So, yeah, that's the only loss that they have this year. Looking at the points per game for Oregon, this is a very explosive offense that can really score some points. They're averaging about 45.3 points per game this year. You look at the total yards per game for Oregon on the offensive side of the football. Again, this is a very explosive offense on the Oregon offensive side of the football, averaging about 541.1 yards per total yards this year. Yeah, that's a very big high number. This is one of the most explosive offenses in the Pac-12 and maybe in the entire country. They're just behind one team, but that's a very big high number for this Oregon team. And then looking at the passing yards per game, about 352.8 yards per passing. That is a ridiculous number there for Bo Nix. Bo Nix has been having a really good season, only 2 interceptions on the year and about 37 touchdown passes and over 3,900 yards of passing on the season. I think he is one of the favorites to win the Heisman Trophy right now. He's definitely one of my picks to win the Heisman as well. You look at the rushing yards for Oregon, about 188.3 yards per rushing. Bucky Irving, one of the top running backs here for the Oregon backfield. He's got 1,043 yards on the season and 10 rushing touchdowns, so Bucky Irving's been having a really good season for Oregon at running the football. And then offensively in the rankings for Oregon, they're second on offense, so this is the second best offense in the country. And then defensively, they're also pretty solid on that side of the football at 15th in the country. This defense has been a lot better ever since the loss to Washington in the regular season, so the defense is really strong for Oregon. They're at least a top 15 defense on that side of the football. So again, very explosive numbers here for the Oregon Ducks in the offensive game. And now let's go to Washington stats. Washington comes into this game at 12-0, so they finished the season at undefeated 12-0 regular season. You look at the points per game for Washington, about averaging 38 points per game. So yeah, this is also a pretty explosive offense that Washington has. You look at the total yards per game, about 468.1 total yards this year. So yeah, this offense is very explosive. It may not be more explosive than Oregon's offense and everything, but this Washington offense is still very explosive anyway. Passing yards per game, that's been their strength this year. Obviously, kind of like a more of a passing attack team. They're about a 345.5 yards per passing. Michael Penix, obviously one of the second best quarterbacks in the Pac-12, just behind Bo Nix. He's about 3,899 yards on the year and about 32 touchdown passes. And he's thrown about 8 interceptions, but that's not a very bad number for Michael Penix. There is times where he is inconsistent, but I think he's definitely improved a lot ever since he was at Indiana and everything. So that's a good passing yard numbers. And then look at the rushing yards here. Washington's a pretty average running team, about 122.6 yards per rushing. They got, of course, Dylan Johnson in the backfield's got 961 yards on the season, about 12 rushing touchdowns. He had that big game against USC, back in the middle of October. Maybe it was also in the month of November, perhaps. So, yeah, this is a pretty average Washington team that can run the football, and then offensively in the rankings and defensively in the rankings for Washington. Again, this is a pretty explosive offense. They're top 15 in the country. They're 11th on offense in the country, but defensively, that's been their weakness. The defense has been not very good these last few weeks. They're 95th on defense, so the defense has not been very strong for Washington. So again, that defense is going to have to be the key going into this Pac-12 championship for them. So looking at the stat comparisons here, Oregon has the advantage in all the stats. Both quarterbacks, two top quarterbacks going at it here this weekend. Maybe a battle for the Heisman Trophy, perhaps. And then you look at the offensive total yards. I mean, Oregon, their stats are just really explosive. And again, this offensive ranking, I think they're pretty much, a balanced offense, but they're more like a hurry-up offense. You look at the rushing yards are pretty similar as well. I think Washington is kind of more of a passing attack team. I think they like to throw the football a little bit more than run the football. They're probably going to have to run the football in this game, though, coming up this weekend. So these are the stat comparisons here between these two teams. Let's now get to the game summary here for this game. So looking at this Pac-12 championship game, it's going to be at 8 o'clock Eastern time on Friday, not on Saturday. The game will be on ABC. The game is at Las Vegas, Nevada. You look at the spread. The spread is favoring Oregon in this game by 9.5 points. That's a very high spread there for this Oregon team that has got one loss on the season, and then Washington is undefeated. And the over and under is at 66.5, so we're predicting a really high-scoring game in this one, which I really could see it playing out that way. Again, you got two great offensive teams here going at it this weekend. Defensively, it might be just about who is the better defense in this game. You look at Oregon and Washington. Again, this is a rematch from the regular season. The last time these two teams met, Washington came out on top with a victory on October 21st, 36-33. So the first matchup did not disappoint. Will Washington make it two in a row? Let's be honest. It's kind of hard to beat a team that you already just beat in the regular season like two times in a row. Obviously, Oregon is out for revenge in this game. And again, the way that Oregon has been playing the last few weeks, I think they've been definitely better than Washington, to be honest. We'll get to the game results here in just a second, but, Oregon has just been so dominant these last few weeks. Washington's been kind of up and down, but they're still a really good team, don't get me wrong. But again, defensively, Oregon is a lot better as well going into this game. And again, this is a rematch from the regular season. Obviously, Oregon's out for revenge, and Washington is just really trying to make the college football playoff as they go into this Pac-12 championship game. This is also going to be the last official Pac-12 championship game as well, as both of these teams are heading, to the Big Ten next year, because that's a lot of changes there for the Big Ten next year. And looking at the FBI, Oregon is favored by the FBI in this game. The FBI gives Oregon about a 75.8% chance to beat Washington in the Pac-12 championship. And then for Washington, the FBI gives them about a 24.2% chance. So the FBI likes Oregon in this game, and a lot of people are predicting Oregon to win this game. I think this game is going to be pretty close, but I tell you what, the way that Oregon has been playing, they're definitely, favoring them in this game. But again, this game's at 8 o'clock Eastern time on ABC, and again, it is at Las Vegas, Nevada. And again, the Ducks are favored by 9.5, and the over and under is at 66.5. So again, predicting a high-scoring game in this one to be played out here on Friday. This is the game summary here for the Pac-12 championship. Let's now get to the previous game results here for both of these teams. So again, Oregon comes into this game at 11-1. Again, their one loss comes to Washington in the regular season. They defeated Utah on the road on October 28, 35-6. That's where the dominance kind of began there for Oregon. They defeated Cal, at home 63-19, November the 4th. They defeated USC 36-27. That was a pretty close game there, but they were still either way dominant in that game on November 11th. They defeated Arizona State on the road 49-13 on November 18th. And then they closed things out in the regular season with a win over their rival Oregon State 31-7. So they obviously took care of business in that game. Had to win that game to get to the Pac-12 championship. That game was on Friday. So again, you look at the game results here for Oregon. They have just been so dominant in the last few weeks. And then looking at Washington's game results, they're coming into this game with a record of 12-0. You look at that game against Stanford on the road, October 28th. They won that game 42-33. I was a bit surprised of how that game turned out to be a really close game there. And then obviously they defeated USC in a big shootout type game there on November 4th, 52-42. They defeated Utah as well, 35-28 on November 11th. Had a really close game there against Oregon State, 22-20 on November 18th. That was a pretty big dogfight in that game. And then they defeated Washington State in rivalry week on Saturday, 24-21. They had a game-winning field goal in that one. So Washington remains undefeated. But looking at the game results here, the previous game result comparisons between these two teams, obviously the Ducks have been more dominant in their previous game results, kind of compared to Washington. And, Washington did get the win over Oregon in the regular season, but I think ever since that game, Washington has just not looked really good. And then you look at Oregon, they have been just so dominant, really on both sides of the football against all these teams in the Pac-12. So these are the previous game results here, previous 5 game results here for the Pac-12, for these 2 teams. Let's now get to the prediction here for the Pac-12 championship. So again, this is the last official Pac-12 championship game in the history of college football. And again, these are 2 teams that are heading to the Big Ten next year. And this is also a rematch here from the regular season. Oregon out for revenge, just like I mentioned. Washington's just trying to get into the college football playoff as an undefeated team. I tell you what, based off of what Oregon has done in the last few weeks, it just seems like they have completely been the more dominant team kind of compared to Washington. Washington doesn't look like they're playing as a top 5 team. Oregon definitely is playing like a top 5 team. And just like I've been saying the last few weeks, I just been leaning towards, Oregon the last few weeks in this Pac-12 championship. I've been putting them in my playoff projections as well. And with that being said, I think Oregon, like I said, they're out for revenge. They're going to look back to that first game, and they're probably going to bring their A game into this one. I think it's a pretty close game, but I think Oregon's defense will be ready for this game as well. And with that being said, I think Oregon wins the Pac-12 championship here, 38-28. So that is my final score prediction for this Pac-12 championship. Like I said, Washington defeated Oregon 36-33 in the first matchup. But let's be honest, Washington, it's hard to beat like a team like 2 times in a row, the team that you already beat in the regular season, and, to beat them in the conference championship for a rematch. It's hard to, beat the same team like twice in a row. I mean, we've seen that before in the past. You look at the SEC championship game like a couple years ago. Alabama defeated Georgia in the SEC championship, and then Georgia comes back in the national championship game and defeats Alabama. So it's happened before. Again, it's just so hard to beat a team like twice in a row that you already beaten. And with that being said, I think Oregon comes out here motivated. I think the offense comes out motivated, and I think that will be enough for Bo Nix to win the Heisman Trophy as well. Again, he's probably my pick to win the Heisman Trophy, to be honest. So this is my official prediction for the 2023 Pac-12 Conference Championship game between Oregon and Washington. Again, my final score prediction is Oregon 38, Washington 28. So give me your thoughts on this prediction. Who do you think wins this game? Do you got Oregon? Do you got Washington? Does Oregon snap the winning streak of Washington this weekend? And does Oregon get revenge on Washington this weekend? Let me know down in the comments below. Thank you for watching this video, and stay tuned here for more sports content videos on my Lucas Ross Sports channel.